It is Monday, and that means it is time to ask Big Daddy, our real estate expert Bryan Garrity, about the state of the market here in San Diego on real estate. And today we're going to focus on some of the mistakes that sellers make when they're trying to sell a home, and for whatever reason. Bryan, good to see you.
It's good to see you. I see you're a Selena fan.
I am definitely
I
a Selena
love
fan,
it.
but
I
it's
love
more
it.
like
What a great way to start a Monday. I know you blame your daughter,
like a
but we
proud
know.
dad. Yeah, exactly.
I know.
All
We know
right.
better.
Let's talk about sellers here, because
Sellers.
I'm seeing a lot more for sale signs
A lot more.
in my neighborhood right now, and as I drive around San Diego.
Well, I mean, anywhere you go, everybody's caught onto the fire that inventory is low, although it's bumped up because you're seeing more signage.
Right.
And equity's coming back, and people who were short may not be short, so they're able to escape that house. It's been a weight on them for quite a while. That doesn't mean there's not short sales. They still exist. But with sellers, the biggest problem we're having now, it's created a new beast. And I mean this in the most respectful way, because I work mainly with sellers. But this whole new market, the media hype that you will see on, all the stations, the influx. Remember, all that media data is really national data. Doesn't mean that San Diego hasn't increased. It has, but that does not mean every county or every city in San Diego or community,
Or every neighborhood,
community in San Diego has increased. Some have actually decreased. So you've got to be spot on.
So you have to understand the nature of the challenge here first off.
Right, and one of the nature of the challenges is hiring an agent that understands what they're doing, and an agent that full-time practices real estate, not some part-time waiter and then does real estate on the side. Or I have a cousin that does real estate, and you know what, no offense about somebody that has a family member that does real estate. That's great, good for them. But at the same time, if you want to get maximum dollars for your house, hire a professional. Hire someone that does this full-time, or you're going to have a lot of issues.
Okay, so that's, again, understand the roles and responsibilities and take care of that.
But with the roles and responsibilities, sellers have roles. But we'll talk about, which is going to go into the next thing that we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, understanding roles and responsibilities, and then they omit the right data, or they fail to get all the data?
Right. So what sellers do, a seller's role is not to just lay back and be stagnant. A seller's role is make sure that you're asking for the right data on your neighborhood. Not on not when you live in Alpine. Don't ask what happened in Vista, because the two things are completely unrelated.
Right.
You can get an overall nature of what's happened in San Diego, but remember, you've got to ask the right data. You need to know what's sold in your marketplace, number one. You need to know how many like yours has sold in the marketplace, and you need to be able to make sure that what you're comparing your house to the house that you say is the model match is comparable, because too often they're not comparable. You'll have one house that's in desperate need of rehabbing or desperate need of touch-up, and you'll have another house that's pristine. The house that's pristine sells for $1 million, and then you have the other one languishing at $940 or $930 and wondering what's happening. And so you've really got to be on top of making sure, if you want top dollar, you're going to have to invest a little bit of money. That's just the hard, cold fact.
And that's the way it's working. So,
and
you want somebody that's going to be honest with you, but you also want to check references. If you're going to employ somebody to help you, and you're going to pay them a substantial fee in order to help you sell a house, why would you do that without references? You are hiring somebody to work for you, and yet people do it without references.
Right, and the seller is the employer. So when you enter into a listing agreement with that seller, with the buyer, when I enter into a listing agreement with the seller, they're hiring me. You see that? I'm applying for a job.
Right.
But in essence, you are applying for a job. You're going to be working for that individual. You're going to be spending a lot of time with that individual. It's not your position to try to, if there's a divorce going on, to try to make peace between the parties. Although remember, party and possession rules. I mean, there's all these little things that happen. But it's your job to stay as objective as possible with the real estate. Focus on what kind of marketing you can do. A lot of agents do nothing but list on the MLS. You've got to do more than that, folks. If you want to get your client top dollar, that's doing somebody a disservice. So a seller really needs to ask, okay, if I'm going to hire you to sell my home, what things are you going to do outside of putting it on the MLS
Right.
to help me get my home maximized and sold.
Folks, if you want to get in touch with Bryan, whether you're buying or selling, or if you've got a difficult situation that you need help with, obviously Bryan Garrity is the guy that we go to when we have questions. So we'd like you to be able to do the same. He picks up the phone. He answers his phone and actually talks to you about stuff. So that's the place to start.
And honestly. So,
yeah,
I mean,
be ready for honesty.
But that's a hard conversation sometimes. To tell somebody when you go in and their heart's set on a number, and you go in there and you tell them, I'm sorry, it just doesn't compare to that house up the street, that doesn't always go over well, because that person's home, that's where their heart is. Sounds to tell you, home is where the heart is. Marky. But it is true, though. Home is totally where the heart is. I mean, people will throw down on their house. Are you kidding? They're not having it. So
he won't throw down with you.
No, I'll just love on you and let you know politely what we need to do.
Okay.
Now, some people will disagree, and if they disagree, then don't blame the agent, but get somebody competent.
All right, Bryan Garrity, and then you check him on the radio, 1700.
Wednesdays,
1
o'clock.
1 o'clock.
This week's an important one. 40-year-old guy who had prostate cancer that's very, very healthy guy, golfer, all that kind of stuff. Check in, because if you're 40, you might be amazed at the type of stuff you could be exposed to.
All right, Bryan Garrity, our real estate expert and lifestyle show on ESPN Radio. Okay.